for Leduc-Beaumont.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is my honor to rise today and second the motion to accept the speech from the throne given by Her Honor, the Lieutenant Governor of Alberta. And what great joy it is to do so during my first time speaking in this House. Mr. Speaker, I plan to address this Assembly in 3 parts. First, to provide some information about myself, my family and friends, and my journey to this special place. Second, I want to highlight the amazing citizens, families, businesses, and local governments that make up the incredible riding of Leduc-Beaumont. And lastly, I want to talk about the key priorities and issues that I hope to address during my time here. Let me begin with 2 numbers that on their own are meaningless, 977 and 928. But taken together, paint a picture of my path here today. Shortly after I was elected, I started to wonder how many people in Alberta's history had ever served in the legislature. Having previously given the issue little to no thought, I remember thinking the number was probably well into the thousands. I was surprised to learn that when I was nervously sworn in back in June, I was the 977th Albertan to ever have that honor.
You're here.
Now, a few more of my colleagues shortly followed, but 977 has stuck with me. Out of the millions of Albertans who have ever called this province home, raised their families, lived through triumphs and tragedy, sent their sons and daughters off to war, and persevered through every setback to build the greatest place in the world to live, just 1,000 have ever had the privilege to serve in this House. Mr. Speaker, I ask, what number could possibly be more humbling? It is in this spirit of humility that I hope to serve. Not in weakness, mind you, I will fight passionately and strongly for the things I believe in, but will strive to do so with humanity and grace. 928 is an even more obscure number. That, Mr. Speaker, is the population of Forestburg, Alberta in 2022, according to the Government of Alberta's regional dashboard. Forestburg is, of course, the small rural town where I was raised, and represented by MLA from Cam. Almost got me there. Forestburg, my parents still live in Forestburg, as does my brother, and my grandparents worked the farm just outside of town for decades. Alberta is full of small towns like Forestburg, where people work hard, raise their families, and contribute so much to the fabric of the province. I remember playing endlessly with my friends growing up, road hockey in the winter, baseball or football in the summer, not a care in the world, running home for dinner to doors that didn't need to be locked at night, an idyllic version of childhood that I'm afraid feels all but lost to many Alberta families today. I mentioned my parents, who are still here and have now witnessed the same number of divisions in person as I have. But I owe them a debt that could never possibly be repaid.
Hear, hear.
Former Premier Ralph Klein would often famously refer to Martha and Henry when he was trying to tap into the ethos of the typical Alberta family. But honestly, he could have been referencing my parents, Terry and Gordon, as together they represent everything good that it means to be Albertan. Loving, kind, hardworking, family and community orientated, and above all, sincere. What impressed me most was that even as they saw advances in technology and society that would scarcely have been believable in their youth, they stayed humble and connected to their family and community. In other words, Forestburg was always enough. Committing to hard work, raising a family, and lending a hand to a neighbor might never make the front page of the newspaper, but at least in my books, it will always be enough to see Alberta thrive. Now, Mr. Speaker, I would like to talk about something else near and dear to my heart, and that is the amazing riding of Leduc-Beaumont. Before I bring forward the many attributes that make the riding so incredible, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the best thing to ever come out of the riding, my amazing, compassionate, and beautiful wife, Chantal. Chantal was here earlier, and I was honored to be able to introduce her to the Assembly. And I can't thank her enough for her love and support. Chantal and her family moved to Leduc early in her youth and have lived there ever since. They quickly became pillars of the community. In fact, Chantal's mom, Bernadette, is still very active, most notably volunteering with Special Olympics Leduc. Bernadette is also a support home for someone who is very close to Chantal and I, Grace. Grace is a Special Olympian and all-star in the community. She's constantly recognized and happy to have a good chat with everyone she meets. I always tell people, if I can become even half as well known and liked around town as her, then I would be tremendously successful. Chantal's sister Kim works diligently at the Leduc Eco Center, although don't get any ideas if you are looking to drop off a load from Edmonton. I'm told they are quite strict on enforcing residency requirements. On the campaign trail, I often said that both Leduc and Beaumont reminded me of the small town that I grew up in. Sure, there are modern businesses and services, but deep down there's a commitment to community, a friendliness, and neighborly charm that reminded me of my youth. But make no mistake, ever since the discovery of oil at Leduc No. 1, the riding has been punching above its weight in its contributions to the provincial economy. Both cities, along with Leduc County, strive to create a business-first regulatory environment that encourages businesses of every size to flourish. The riding is home to the Nisku and Leduc business parks that serves companies from all over the province and have a unique role in supporting our vital energy sector. Equipment, pipelines, parts and hardware that get built, fabricated, or repaired in the riding plays a vital role in Fort McMurray, across the province, and even across the country in building and sustaining the world's best energy economy. The riding includes the Edmonton International Airport, whose impressive campus is on the cutting edge of the logistics and transportation sector. Initiatives such as the adoption of a hydrogen fleet as a first step to exploring the full potential of hydrogen as tomorrow's transportation fuel demonstrates the airport's commitment to embracing a modern transportation sector. Edmonton International also serves the province's agriculture sector by providing quick and easy access to foods that are processed in the riding and beyond, but shipped all over the globe. There are numerous entertainment opportunities in the riding, including the Century Mile Racetrack and Casino, some of Alberta's best golf courses, unique and distinct restaurants and pubs, and a strong and growing local brewing and distilling industry, with the Rig Hand Distillery being a personal favorite, and I would advise anyone who stops by to try their award-winning whiskey. Outdoor enthusiasts can canoe or kayak on beautiful Lake Telford in Leduc, or enjoy their time at Beaumont's Four Seasons Park. Both communities host numerous outdoor, family-focused events during the summer months in these great locations. Leduc is also known for its amazing baseball and softball infrastructure, hosting several provincial championships over the years. I'm always impressed with the strong arts and culture scene in the riding. Both Leduc and Beaumont feature annual art walks that I, along with numerous community members, enjoy attending each year. The Leduc Arts Foundry provides a place for local artists to feature their work and for residents to pick up a brush and learn. There are several smaller, locally owned art stores, such as the Painted Door in Beaumont, that are very popular and pillars of the community. Both Leduc and Beaumont have modern indoor recreation centers that serve not only as community hubs, but as host to several youth sports, including hockey. Speaking of hockey, I have the pleasure to regularly lace up the skates in one of the world's longest-running continuous recreational hockey leagues, the Leduc Old Blades. The Oblates began in 1972 and have been operating ever since. While the quality of hockey might sometimes vary, or frankly drop off a fair amount when I'm on the ice, I think the real secret to the league's longevity is the chance for conversation and friendship after every game. And yes, maybe a beer or two while discussing the current political issues of the day. Mr. Speaker, just as I'm committed to my riding of Leduc-Beaumont, I'm also committed to making sure my conduct and decisions benefit all Albertans. Canada is, by any objective measure, one of the best places in the world to live, and Albertans from all corners of the province are eager and proud to see Canada succeed. But these same Albertans are understandably disappointed and frustrated when a federal government that is supposed to represent them is instead holding them back. Not surprisingly, the number one issue that I hear about from my constituents is affordability. Mortgages and rents have doubled. Grocery and utility costs have skyrocketed. Mr. Speaker, people are struggling. And what has our federal government done to address the concerns of Albertans? I would say nothing, but it is actually worse than that. If they had simply done nothing, Alberta would have been better off. But alas, this federal government has doubled down on its own disastrous fiscal policy that has driven inflation sky high. Our Prime Minister famously said he doesn't think about fiscal policy. But you know who does think about it? Those families who are scared of losing their home, who have to choose between paying for groceries or paying their bills. So what then has the federal government been thinking about? Lately, that answer has been looking for ways around the Constitution to ram through their ideological agenda and cripple Alberta's energy sector. Their latest target, of course, being Alberta's electricity grid, whose only sin, apparently, is not being located in Atlantic Canada. I will not stand idly by as Alberta families potentially freeze in the dark or pay 4 times their current amount for energy so that out-of-touch federal ministers can pat themselves on the back at the Sierra Club.
Good point, sir.
Mr. Speaker, before being elected, I worked for the Alberta Public Service in several intergovernmental relation roles. I had a front row seat to a federal government whose attitude towards the provinces and territories, particularly Alberta, became increasingly hostile, ideological, and incoherent. Many times I had to listen as federal civil servants would sigh heavily as they were forced to read or repeat nonsensical talking points clearly written by minister offices that were completely offside or ignorant to the real issues at hand. It drove me crazy to see how federal ideology was damaging these important relationships. I will use my time in the House to stand up for Alberta, to call out a federal government that is intentionally harming one part of the country to score political points in another. Albertans have given so much to this great country and are willing and prepared to continue to do so. I will stand behind them and fight for their right to build a strong economy, raise their families in a free and prosperous province, and continue to make Alberta the best place in the world to live. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to second the speech from the throne. Thank you.